Welcome to District 1, where your safety is our top priority, luxury is guaranteed as long as you never leave the security zone, or we'll kill you. I'm John Renton with the Retro Review 28 Weeks Later from 2007, written and directed by Juan Carlos Fresnadillo. Fresnadillo. I didn't mean to say that. I wasn't trying to be mean towards this abomination of a goddamn sequel to a movie that I didn't actually really appreciate the first time I saw it and really didn't appreciate when I recently rewatched it, in the sense that I recently rewatched it just a little bit before I decided to watch this and record this video. Why? Because 28 years later is coming up, and I decided to revisit both. Christ knows fucking why, because there's no deep goddamn narrative, but apparently they thought there was a deep narrative for this, because there were 3 other writers. There were 4 people that wrote this. 4 people needed to write this. And you could tell, because it was really fucking messy. So you do have Robert Carlyle, who plays Don. Don, the Piper's son, stole a pig and away he went. Him, his wife, played by Catherine McCormick, well, they're holed up in a cottage, and then the infected show up some number of days after, all this stuff has happened, or possibly around the same time as the events of the previous film. I don't really know or care, honestly. And Don, instead of saving his wife, decides to abandon her. I would never abandon you, Catherine McCormick. I'll just say that right now. So he runs, and then he's in quarantine. Then his kids show up, Tammy and Andy. Tammy, by the way, is played by a young Imogen Poots. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be serious. Her last name is Poots. How can I take a movie seriously when you have somebody with the last name of Poots in it? She's a really terrific actress, but please, why couldn't you have gone with another name? I can't take the project seriously. She was also in Vivarium, which was a lot worse than this. That wasn't her fault, though. So, basically, he reunites with his children, doesn't bother to tell them, oh yeah, this is what happened, I abandoned your mother because I'm a cowardly little bitch. Robert Carlyle, by the way, terrific actor. And they're in District 1, a section of Great Britain that has been deemed rage virus free, but not for long, because then certain events happen, and basically everything goes tits up, as it does across the pond, and, well, the survivors must fight to, survive, as containment is no longer a possibility, only extermination. So, yeah, in case you think that that's a bit too much, well, this movie has been out for about 18 years, and also this is a retro review where pretty much there's just a baseline premise. And I'm going to tell you why I didn't really appreciate this. So days turned into weeks, a number of weeks, and, well, society hadn't really learned to deal with the rage virus, except to starve people out. So it's a $15 million budget, which was almost twice the $8 million budget of the first movie. $9.8 million opening, just a couple $100,000 below the previous one. But it only made $28.6 million U.S. and Canada gross, which was below the $45 million. And it made about $20 million less worldwide. So maybe the third one being put on ice wasn't the worst idea. Look, I made it no secret for those that have been longtime subscribers to the channel that the zombie subgenre and zombie dom genre are not particularly my favorite. Now, I did like Mads. That was a pretty neat twist on the whole zombie infected thing. And there have been other zombie movies that have been good. I just don't really understand why 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later have a cult following when they're really not very interesting. Now, I'm not knocking you guys if you like it, but I just don't get it. So, it is funny, but the opening's the best part outside of like one scene with a helicopter and infected in the field. So you do have a little bit of a setup. Everything seems to be going okay. But then this kid shows up that looks like he came from the Hitler Youth Camp next door. I'm sorry, the way they dress the actor. It's like Tomorrow Belongs to Him. But then, instead of saving his wife, he decides to run off. Now, you could have tried to save her and maybe you both would have died, but at least you would have gone out a hero. Also, it's Catherine goddamn McCormick. How dare you abandon her? How dare you, Robert Carlyle? How dare you, writers? How dare you? So, the dog shit camera work is back. They're just throwing it around like crazy. It's not nearly as grainily egregious as the first one. Yes, with the aforementioned bigger budget and different crew behind it. But come on. I mean, come on. So he does end up getting in a boat, a banana boat, and then sometime later we find out about District 1. Kids arrive, and we see Rose Byrne, the incredibly gifted and gorgeous Rose Byrne. I would go to the ends of the earth for a woman like that. What person wouldn't? She's a doctor. Doctor, give me the news. Well, I've got a bad case of the rage virus blues, because Alice shows up sometime after Dawn says, oh, don't worry, your mother died valiantly. I couldn't save her. They were biting her. But then it turns out actually that he lied completely. Big surprise. I mean, we knew he lied, but he told a really, really bad lie, because I then noted just before Alice arrived that you had Jeremy Renner playing Doyle, which is just funny because you had Danny Boyle as the director of the other ones. Maybe they combined those to Human Centipede them together. But Jeremy Renner has a Super Scope 6 that he's using to look around. That's a deep cut for video game fans. And everything seems to be okay in District 1 until Alice shows up, and then it becomes very, very obvious that Alice is she's a carrier of the virus. Idris Elba is in this also, by the way, before he really became a household name. I mean, he was on the rise sort of at this point. He would be in Thor, I think, a year later? No, Thor actually came out in like 2011. I was thinking of Iron Man. But, yeah, these, before Alice actually arrives, the kids do the most monumentally stupid thing. As long as they don't leave the security zone, they're okay. But then they break out. Great security, by the way. They can't keep track of two little children. They go back to their old house because Andy doesn't have a picture of his mommy. Oh, God, you poor thing. God, I'm so sorry for you, you stupid little brat. These children are stupid, by the way. About as stupid as the ones in the others. So, and I'm talking about the characters, not the actual act. I mean, maybe the actors are stupid. I don't fucking know. But they end up back at their old house, and they end up finding their mother, who is a carrier of the virus, but not actually rage-filled. But she can pass it on. So she ends up passing it to Dawn. This is after she's inspected and it's decided her blood could be used to create a cure. Because that's worked out so well in previous zombie movies. But she gives it to Dawn. Dawn becomes infected. She gives it to Dawn because Dawn kisses her. By the way, maybe don't do that with the person that you abandoned, because maybe there's a chance with the zombie infection virus that she could pass it on. But Robert Carlyle apparently plays an idiot in this. And then he goes, la, 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 and he turns all infected, and then, then he beats the shit out of his wife. Just beats a teetotal shit out of her, just destroying, doing this kind of stuff, and for some reason, she's not able to fight back and do too much. So he kills her. I guess zombies are even into doing these Stone Cold Steve Austin, DV stunner, but nevertheless. Then they declare that basically they can no longer contain this stuff, so they're going to exterminate. They're going to destroy everything. There's a character named Flynn that's a pilot. That's a friend of Doyle's. Rose Byrne's Scarlet wants to protect these kids because they have a certain genetic code, possibly because she noticed it in Andy's eyes, which she also noticed in Catherine McCormick's eyes. I would like to look in Catherine McCormick's eyes, but I digress. So, let's just kill the infected, and oh wait, that's not going to work. Let's firebomb every single damn thing. I'm skipping over a lot of this stuff because there's a lot of bad camera work. Just throw the camera around like crazy. I mean, my God. Why do you even try to have gore effects if you're going to do this? So then Doyle's leading a group of infected, seemingly somewhere. I don't actually know where the fuck they are. I don't think the director knew where they were either. But, the idea now is a few people have to survive, but more people are being picked off. There's Doyle, there's Scarlet, there's the two kids, and there's even one point where Doyle tries to have a discussion with Andy and try to get him to go along. While infected are right over here. Flynn doesn't want to take all four of them in the goddamn helicopter. He doesn't have to worry about that. Because, well, after some gas is released and these infected are killed because I guess they cannot live off that. It's a jumping jack flash. Let's get the gas. They're locked in a vehicle. It doesn't turn out like The Mist because I don't get a happy ending like I did with that, because that little shit deserved it, if we're being perfectly honest. I don't feel bad for Thomas Jane at all. Yeah, I mean, but this movie pissed me off. So, Jeremy Renner gets out and pushes so Scarlett can pop the clutch and get the kids to safety, but then he gets set on fire. So, his character's been rendered helpless. Har har. And then they get into the subway to get to safety, seemingly Wembley Stadium, which I guess you can just take subway tunnels to. I assume. I don't know. I don't know much about architecture there. Maybe Tony Khan could have funneled fans from there, and maybe could have actually filled the goddamn house last time. But that being said, Scarlett ends up getting picked up because there's infected in the tunnels. They're using this night vision that is not helping them. And then Andy gets bitten because Dawn shows back up, but then Tammy shoots the dad and is going to shoot Andy because Andy ran off. But no, don't worry, Andy just has the same eye discoloration that his mom had. He's a carrier of the virus, but he can transmit it, but he's not rage-filled, I guess. And then they get to Wembley Stadium, and then they get with Flynn, and then the infected are in Paris. That's all I can fucking say about 28 weeks later. God damn it. Just why? Just why? Why even make a zombie movie if you're not going to have anything interesting to say or interesting to do? I just don't get it. 28 weeks later is not very... It's a downgrade from the first one, which wasn't that good to begin with. And this is not giving me much hope for 28 years later, which I will watch. Maybe it will surprise me. Maybe Terrifier 3 surprised me. But that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rickland. I'll see you soon.